Hello everybody, welcome back to Dad's Read-Along Stories, and today we're going to read another Curious George book. This time we're going to read Curious George and the Pizza. My kids love pizza. Every time we get our groceries at Costco, they ask for pizza. We don't always say yes, but sometimes we do. Let's read Curious George and the Pizza. And if you want to show me that you like Curious George books, please subscribe and like this video so we know to make more Curious George books. Curious George and the Pizza. "Let's go out for pizza tonight, George," said his friend. At the pizza place, Tony the baker was getting the pizzas ready for baking. He flattened out a ball of dough into a large pancake and tossed it into the air. He spread tomato sauce on it, sprinkled it with cheese, and shoved it into the oven. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. Then the telephone rang. "A fellow from the factory wants a large pizza delivered in a hurry," Tony's wife called. "Okay, I'll get my coat," said Tony. George was curious. Could he make a pizza too? He jumped up on the counter and took some dough. Oh no, this is not going to go well. George pounded the dough into pancakes. Then he tossed them into the air with all four hands. One of them plopped right in the middle of a table where a woman was sitting. Another landed on a coat rack, and one fell on the jukebox. And one landed smack on Tony's head. "Who did that?" he shouted. George was scared. He ran out and jumped into a small truck to hide. "That customer is still waiting for his pizza," said Tony's wife. "You'd better hurry. They'll be closing the factory in a few moments." "I forgot all about it," Tony said. Quickly, he packed the pizza in the back of the truck and drove off. But George was trapped inside. The truck sped up to the factory, but it was too late. The gates were locked. "Oh no," Tony groaned. "How will I ever deliver the pizza?" He opened the back door of the truck, and there was George. "So that's where you've been hiding, you bad little monkey," Tony cried. He reached out to grab George, but then he stopped. What do you think he's going to do? I have an idea. "I've got an idea," he said. "You're just the one I need." How good that George was a monkey. "Look at that," shouted the factory guard. "A monkey delivering a pizza." "Thanks, George," said Tony. "You made up for all the trouble you caused. I'm going to make a special pizza for you and your friend when we get back." And that's what he did. The end. Thank you guys so much for reading Curious George and the Pizza with me. Maybe you should go up to your mom or your dad or your grandma or your grandpa right now and say, "I want a pizza!" But if they say no, that's okay. You gotta respect your parents and your grandparents. I'll see you guys later. I'm gonna go not eat pizza, but I'm gonna go hang out with my family. See you guys later. Bye! Hello everybody, welcome to Dad's Read-Along Stories. My name is Josh, I'm a dad. This is my son, Charlie. And today we're gonna be reading Curious George, Tadpole Trouble. And I have a question for you. Do you know what the word curious means?
No.
You don't know? Curious means you are eager to learn something or know something. So Curious George wants to know a lot of things. Do you know what a tadpole is? You don't know? Well, we're gonna learn. Let's read Curious George, Tadpole Trouble together. Okay, Curious George is this monkey right here. You know him, right? He's an awesome monkey. George was exploring a lake with his friend Bill. George was a good explorer, and he was always very curious. Remember, that means he wants to know something. He was especially curious about tadpoles. Bill told George he could be in charge of the tadpoles they found. George took tadpole watching very seriously. He watched them swim in their glass bowl. He fed them boiled lettuce. He took them for a swim in the lake. At the time, it seemed like good exercise for tadpoles. So these little guys are the tadpoles right here. These little They kind of look like fish, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know what they turn into?
Frogs.
Oh, you know. He knows. But don't spoil it. Don't tell him. We'll find out. When the tadpoles did not come back, George started to worry. What would Bill say? He had to find them. So he dumped them out and he can't find the tadpoles because they swam away. George spent hours at the lake. He found turtles and water beetles and minnows, but no tadpoles. Every time George would visit the lake, he would look for the tadpoles. Several weeks went by. Finally, he found something that looked like a tadpole, but it had legs and almost no tail. So George let it go. What's that? It's like turning into something. A frog? We'll find out. A few weeks after that, George took a walk in the city to think about his tadpole problem. He was going back to the lake soon, and Bill would be very disappointed if George had lost the tadpoles. George walked so long, he found himself in front of the museum. He saw a butterfly that reminded him of being at the lake, so he followed it. The butterfly flew into the museum, and George kept following past all kinds of exhibits. There was a special display about creatures that live around lakes. George knew about many of them, like turtles, minnows, lizards, and tadpoles. Tadpoles! The picture of the baby tadpole reminded him of his own tadpoles. Next to it was one of the funny creatures that George had seen at the lake. It had legs and a smaller tail. Now he understood. The creatures with legs were the tadpoles. His friends had not vanished, they were just changing and growing up. George was so excited. He left the museum without finishing the exhibit tour. As soon as George got back to the lake, he looked for his missing friends, especially the little ones with little legs and almost no tails. But they were not there either. This time George could only find frogs. Lots and lots of frogs. What is going on? What a good idea, George, Bill said, seeing the empty jar. You decided to release the tadpoles into their natural habitat so you could watch them grow into frogs. You're not only curious, you're smart too. Let's take a picture of you and the frogs together, George. Smile. Can you smile? That's a funny smile. Smile better. And now we have a little picture of the life of a frog. Here are the main stages of a frog's life, out of order. Number them 1 to 4. This is number 1, right? The eggs. And then what's number 2? What do they turn into after the eggs? Yep, the tadpole. Then what? Tadpole with legs. Yep. And then what? Frog. Good job, Charles. And then you can make your own butterfly here, too. That's kind of cool. The end. Thank you guys for reading Curious George. Tadpole Trouble. What did you think? You like that one?
Yeah.
That was a good one. The tadpoles turn into frogs, and George learns all about it. Are you going to be curious too and learn about stuff? That's awesome. Are you leaving? Okay. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next time when we read more books. Bye. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Dad's Read Along Stories. My name is Josh. I'm a dad. And we are going to be reading today Curious George's Dinosaur Discovery. Raise your hand if you know Curious George, if you like Curious George. When I was little, I watched a lot of Curious George on TV, and now I get to read the book, Curious George's Dinosaur Discovery. Let's read. Today is a special day, George's friend said. We are going to do something very interesting. George was curious. What could be more interesting than a trip to the Dinosaur Museum? The man with the yellow hat led the way through the museum. George wanted to stop and look at the dinosaur bones, but his friend kept going, so George kept following. Finally, they walked right out the back door. Where are they going? A van was waiting for them outside. "Climb in, George," said the man with the yellow hat. George looked out the window as the van drove off. Where could they be going? At last, the van reached a rocky quarry. Dozens of people were there. Some were digging with shovels. Others were using pickaxes and other kinds of tools. "Surprise!" George's friend said. "We're going to help the museum scientists dig up dinosaur bones." Ooh, George was curious. Were there really dinosaurs buried in the quarry? He ran over for a better look. "Hello," said a friendly scientist. "Are you here to help with the dig?" George watched the scientist work. She dug up some dirt and put it into her sifting pan. It took a long time to sift it, and in the end, no dinosaur bones. "Oh well," she said, "time to try again." But the next pan was empty too. So was the next one, and the one after that. George yawned. So far, digging for dinosaurs was not as exciting as he'd expected. George was curious. Could he help to find dinosaur bones? He found a spare shovel lying nearby. He dug and dug, but he didn't find any dinosaurs. When he climbed out of his hole, George spotted another scientist. He was dusting something with a small brush. "Oh well," the scientist said. "It's not a bone, it's just a rock." George wanted to help. He picked up a brush and went to work. But it turns out that monkeys are not very good at dusting. As he hurried away from the cloud of dust, George bumped into a wheelbarrow. Maybe there were dinosaur bones in it. He climbed up to look inside, but the wheelbarrow was awfully tippy. Crash! Oh no, George, the wheelbarrow, and a whole lot of dirt went flying. "Hey!" someone cried. "What's that monkey doing?" George scampered away, straight up the cliff. Monkeys are good at climbing, so George kept going, higher and higher. When he got to the top, he accidentally knocked a stone over the edge. That stone hit another stone, which then hit another stone, and another. Oh no! It was a rock slide! The man with the yellow hat called for George to come down. George wanted to climb down, but he was afraid the scientists would be angry with him. But the scientists did not look angry. "Look!" one cried, pointing. "Look what that monkey just uncovered!" George could hardly believe what he saw. Dinosaur bones! After that, the dinosaur dig was even more fun. George helped the scientists dig and sift and dust and take photographs of the bones he had found. Wow. And the next time him and the man with the yellow hat visited the dinosaur museum, George got to see his dinosaur on display. Wow. It says they named it the Georgosaurus. Wow. That was a great book. That's the end of it. Thank you guys for reading Curious George's Dinosaur Discovery. And he got his own dinosaur because he climbed to the top of the mountain and found the Georgosaurus. Thank you guys for reading. I will see you guys the next time we read books together. Bye.